Hey, what's up, everyone? Morey Croson here from the Performance Lab of California, and we have another new breakdown for you today. And this is going to be on the 4-1-4-40. This is outside of like a Chiefs game, I guess. They had this 40-yard dash timer, and people would be able to just go up and check out the actual time. And so I looked at it, and when you actually watch the video, it does seem like he's able to get to the two, the whole thing, and it does seem like it is 40 yards as well when you go and you count the individual lines. And so you go through, you see the first kind of initial steps, 1 2. But when you first do it, you don't really notice that these first steps are kind of taken off of the grass, right? And so that's going to end up being important. Those first two steps are off the grass. Now he's on the grass here. 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12, and I'm just counting his steps right here just because we've seen a lot of these guys, like Cam Newton, for instance. I think he ran the 40 in about 20 steps. When you look to somebody like McCaffrey or John Ross, they're closer to like 21 and a half or 22 steps. So I'm just trying to break it all down here. It's 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. So, it looks like he's extending at about 22 steps, which would be pretty accurate in terms of how much distance that, you need to cover to actually, run the 40. But then when you go back and they do a replay, you could see that when he's actually doing this 40, he takes these first two steps, 1, 2, but the laser is right here, right? So the laser doesn't start until you actually pass it right here, boom, right? So the laser started somewhere in this general area. So once you get into this area, he's already taken two steps, and those are like two really important steps. So usually what we see within those first two steps is that the average is somewhere around probably 0.17. These are of the fastest guys. 0.17 on the first step, and maybe closer to 0.15 on the second step. So that's still about 3/10 of a second right there. And then you also have, so that's just the time that he ends up spending on the ground, so 0.32. And then you also have like the actual turnover, and we could probably look at that. We could just look at these, how long he's standing on the ground right here. So we can go here, 1593. Yeah, so he's actually almost close to 0.2 there. Point 0.16. So he's at about 3.36 right there, and adding to the actual run. Then we also got to go to when during that initial push off. So you probably end up adding like an extra, because you can see this point right here, end up having a little bit of time. So you probably end up adding like a point 48 to 0.54, somewhere in there, onto the actual 414 to make it a little bit more overall accurate. Now, the only thing that's interesting about it, where you can maybe make an influence, is that because of the amount of steps that he took, I don't know exactly, because you can't really see the yard markers from here. If they subtracted it from here, so they made it so maybe there was a 5-yard difference right here, but between the actual lines, it made it so then he was able to get it. Or did the actual 40 start right here? It's hard to really tell how they ended up doing that, but yeah, he was able to get a running start. So if you got a running start, then that would just, it'd make it difficult to actually be able to add it on, because now he's running 45 yards instead of 40 yards, which it seems like he's could be running 40 yards, which means that they just subtracted that first 5 yards there. But in terms of some of the things that he was doing in his actual run, we could see. Let's see how long he's spending on the time, how much time he's spending on the ground. It's 1910 is when he first touches. Yeah, 192. Say 21. So essentially what I'm looking at here, so it's at a 0.29 and 0.11 contact time and a 0.11 contact time again here. So he's at about a 0.11 contact time, which is not bad. You know, closer to 0.1 is going to be better. And then the other thing that I would say is that he'd probably need a little bit higher transition size, so closer to like 0.32, in order to be really running that you know 40. That top 40 time. So, you know, when we're looking at these times, when we're looking at the 40s, what we're looking at to see is how much time you spend on the ground, how much time you spend off the ground. And generally, you know, 0.1 is pretty good for spending the time on the ground, but in order to take up the right amount of overall space, you know, in between steps, like, you know, somebody like Cam Newton, he's taking up 0.34 seconds, right? Because he's taking up so much space. But you see a lot of guys, you know, somebody like John Ross might only be at like 0.3, 0.31, but his turnover is just really, really good. And so, you know, that means that he's spending like 0.09 of time on the ground. And so he's just able to pick up a lot more overall space. So, you know, if you have like a 0.1, 0.11, now you're going to end up having to get closer to like a 0.32 to 0.34 in your transition time in order to make it so you could run something like a 4.14. So he's a little bit behind from a numbers perspective in really being able to do this. And you could tell by the actual you know, where he started, you know, overall in the actual run. But I got a comment to, you know, kind of debunk this or just show, you know, what actually happened on this. And so, you know, I was able to find a video that would show you exactly what ended up happening. And, you know, with this 4.140 was really, and you know, I'd say it was closer to probably like a 4.6, maybe a little bit more than a 4.6, but that would be my guess. Is somewhere close to a 4.6 in there would be, you know, what is 40 time. But he could have been running a longer period of time, you know. But I would still guess that he probably runs about a 4.6 overall would be my, you know, general assessment. All right. Let me know if you guys have any questions. We do have a new 40-yard program that I attached in the link here below. Obviously, you know, no hard feelings or anything to the guy that was doing this. I know this is just a popular video, so wanted to be able to show you guys what actually happened. And, you know, if you guys have any questions, you could reach out, and we'll be happy to talk to you soon.